Look at that.
I'm gonna get food. I'm hungry.
Go for it. I'm not even gonna pretend to be humble about this. This recipe that I'm gonna show you is one of the best things that I've ever made. And I'm making it for a birthday party tonight. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it because you need to make this too. Okay, I'm gonna show you the ingredients. Now, keep in mind, I'm not great with measurements, so I'm gonna give you estimates now and as we assemble. This is 3 sliced sweet yellow onions. These are cremini mushrooms. You can use white if that's all you have access to. We buy ours from Costco, so they're pretty big. And I would say that that's 6 to 8 sliced. Thyme chopped. This is from my garden. And a whole pack of the Boursin cheese. You might need a little bit more than this depending on how much you're gonna make. And I'm making for a party, so I'll probably need more. Puff pastry. You're probably gonna need 2 of these. Mozzarella cheese. And a good balsamic. This is from a local olive oil balsamic shop where they make their own, and it's good. Okay, so ideally you wanna start with a cast iron pan, and I have a giant one. And you're gonna add olive oil. This is what I use. You can use avocado oil too. And then you're gonna add some butter in there. Anytime you're caramelizing or sauteing something and you're using butter to do that, you wanna add some kind of olive oil or avocado oil. It will keep the butter from burning. Okay, so we're gonna start by letting this all kind of melt together. And I'm gonna do mine a little bit uniquely because I have such a big pan. Normally you would cook the onions and then cook the mushrooms separately. But because I have such a big pan, I'm actually gonna start the onions in here. And then once they start to saute, I'm gonna move them to one side and I'm gonna start the mushrooms on the other side. And there's a special way to do mushrooms that I learned that I'm gonna teach you. Okay, once the oil and the butter have started to warm up and bubble a bit, you're gonna turn up the heat just slightly, a little past medium, and you're gonna add in all your onions. Okay? We're gonna give them a stir. And if you've never caramelized onions before, the easiest way to do it is to get them into a nice hot pan. It's why I like a cast iron, because it will caramelize things. It just makes everything better. And we have seasoned our cast irons for a long time, and I think it makes a huge difference. Total side note, look at this chive and cheddar sourdough loaf I made. Okay, so we're gonna let our onions sweat down a little bit, which just means they're gonna sit and start to break down a little bit and not be as firm. They become just a little bit more tender. We don't want them transparent. So this has been 2-3 minutes. Once we're at that point, we're gonna add the things that help it caramelize, which is salt, and sugar. The salt helps the onions get rid of some of the water, and then obviously the sugar helps it caramelize. So as these are caramelizing, you're gonna stir them periodically, and we're keeping it on that lower heat. You can also check on the flavor periodically to see if you want it a little bit more salty or a little bit more sweet by just doing this. Now, I have mine a little bit more sweet for this particular recipe, simply because the entire thing is really savory and there's gonna be salt on so many other levels that it can totally handle the sweet. So I'm gonna spend some time caramelizing these, and then when it's time for the next step, I'll be back. By the way, whatever you're cooking when you're wearing these is going to smell like onions. Okay, so we're at a really good point with the onions. They're transparent. They're just getting ready to start caramelizing. We're gonna start adding some stuff. So we're gonna start with the balsamic. I'm just gonna do a drizzle. And we're gonna show you what a drizzle looks like. We're gonna mix that up. Oh, you guys, if you could smell this. Oh man, yum. So between the salt evaporating the water, the sugar starting the caramelization process, and now the balsamic getting in there and adding a little bit of tanginess and a little bit more sweetness to it, man, it transforms it. So then you're gonna see they look like this. And I think that that's plenty. I'll taste it later and see, kind of like I mentioned with the salt and sugar, and see if it needs more. Now I'm gonna do thyme, and I'm just gonna start sprinkling this and see how I feel about it. But I would say that this is about 5 or 6 sprigs with the leaves taken off and chopped. You know what? I'm gonna use it all. And we're just gonna stir that in. Now we're just gonna continue to let that caramelize a little bit longer and I'll be back. Okay, so I really like how these look. So what I'm gonna do, because I've mentioned that I have this giant pan and I'm gonna use it for multiple things, I'm gonna push all the onions to one side and they're still gonna continue to caramelize. I'm still gonna stir them and give them attention. But I'm gonna also do my mushrooms on this side. Now the key to mushrooms, to browning them and really getting them to be delicious in whatever you add them to, is you have to dry sweat them. And as Julia Child says, don't crowd the pan, but I do. So we're gonna start with probably half of the mushrooms. And because we're gonna be blending these things together at the end and combining them, not blending them, it's okay if they touch because the flavor profiles are gonna be really similar. So I have about that much left and I will add it in eventually, but for now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna let the mushrooms sweat and they are going to release all the moisture. And then what happens is they will reabsorb the moisture, but they'll use it to brown themselves. It's pretty amazing. And I'm probably gonna add a little bit of butter, maybe a little bit of salt, maybe a little bit of garlic. We'll see as we go. Pro tip, you always need more onions and more mushrooms than you think because both of them shrink significantly. See all that liquid? That's from the mushrooms. I haven't added anything and it's gonna start to brown pretty soon and reabsorb, kind of like that one right there. They're browning and they're beautiful. So now I'm gonna add a little butter into the mushroom area and then I'm gonna show you guys my garlic hack when I don't wanna chop it up. I'm already doing enough cooking and labor right now that I don't need to make things harder on myself. But if you haven't tried it yet, Trader Joe's has crushed garlic cubes. They're amazing. It's really, really simple. You just get into the package. I was struggling. And there's little individuals and they each count as a garlic clove. So I'm probably gonna add 2. I'm gonna start with 2 because I don't want it to overwhelm the onions. And though you keep them in the freezer, and so you pop them in here and they will melt down pretty quickly. And since I added the butter, it's just gonna give them flavor. And then I'm gonna salt them to my liking. So you're gonna put a little bit of salt on at a time if you've not done that, and just taste and see if it's gotten too salty or not enough. And you can always add some at the end. But we're gonna start with just a little bit. A little bit. Because they can get too salty very quickly. Oh, the garlic smells so good. Okay, keep stirring and browning. They need a little bit more salt. And I'm also gonna add pepper. I like this one. This ground black. I don't like big chunks of pepper. I love pepper, but I don't like to get the peppercorn bits. They're my fave. Okay, they're perfect. Stove's off. This is what they should look like. We're gonna let them cool, and then I'll show you the next steps, assemble and baking them. By the way, make sure your pastry dough is out and getting slightly defrosted 45 minutes-ish before you're gonna use it. Okay, so now that we're done, I'm going to start chopping everything because we're gonna put it together, but a little pro tip, so the cutting board doesn't slide, is put a wet paper towel, damp paper towel underneath it and it secures it a little bit more. I wish you could smell this. So I just comboed everything together and we're just gonna start chopping it all up. You wanna get it to a little bit of a diced stage because we're gonna be mixing it into some of those pastry dough cups. And we don't want big, huge pieces, okay? And this is what you want it to look like. Okay, so now we're back and we're gonna assemble. I'm making 24 because I'm making them for a party, so these are small. I cut my puff pastries into pieces, cut yours appropriately. You're gonna spray the pan and then we're gonna start layering. This is what you want it to look like before you stuff them. Okay, a little scoop of Boursin, some mozzarella, and a little bit of the filling. And it should look like that, overstuffed. Now you're gonna bake at 400 degrees for 15 to 25 minutes or until golden brown.